Good evening, Rams. I'm Ren Wadsworth. Tonight on CTV, we delve into the world of student government. The Associated Students of Colorado State University has served the campus for many years. We'll discuss its history and how it has transformed. Changes to the election rules and member resignation may raise questions for what this year may look like. And find out students' plans with voting in this year's election. All that and more on the first installment of Right Now with Ren, which starts, you guessed it, right now. The Associated Students of Colorado State University was originally founded in 1917. The institution was established only 40 years after the initial creation of CSU. The inclusion of student government at the university served as a way for a small percent to advocate for all students at a campus, local, state, and national level. Throughout its time at CSU, ASCSU has served as a way for students to be an active part of major decisions for the university. As elected officials, student government members are able to represent the student body. This is crucial to communications between the administration and students. Those who dedicate their time to ASCSU have responsibilities and powers unique to each position. You might have walked right past it without realizing what ASCSU is, but buried in the heart of the Laurie Student Center, a student-run organization has huge input on administrative decisions that impact CSU. With the power that comes with student government comes opinions from the body they serve.
The knowledge that I have of ASCSU is through things like El Centro.
I don't really have that much on it, but since I'm new here, I'll definitely take a look into it and definitely explore.
I think it's something that not a lot of people do. I don't know, for some reason it doesn't feel like it's important, but I think it should be. I think it's important to be involved in community and like a part of what's happening at our school.
ASCSU is responsible for the majority of undergraduate organizations on campus and oversees resources for students such as Ramride, transport, and accessible parking. ASCSU is responsible for an allocation of student fees here at Colorado State University, but are Rams ready for this year's election?
Yeah, I'll probably vote. I need to see the candidates. I don't even really know when the elections are happening.
Maybe if someone really comes out swinging, like if there's some radical, they want to do something.
The next election for ASCSU has already begun deciding the future student leadership and advocates for Colorado State University. Seems elections may not be on the minds of some Rams, but this won't stop the election train or students' thoughts about campus government.
Specifically, just seeing how kind of the same type of person runs every single time, and we don't see much diversity in that sense because, sometimes it's scary for different communities to come into spaces that aren't necessarily welcoming of that.
I would think maybe getting freshmen and transfer students more involved, especially with COVID now kind of starting to go away, in the attempt to just get people more involved on campus and more in-person events.
So I would love to see a student body that cares about like events and things that people like genuinely want to go to just to connect with others.
The campaign stretch for this year's candidate was set to kick off yesterday morning and last all day. In previous years, the plaza would be filled with eager candidates and their displays, encouraging and enticing passerbys to stop and chat. This year, however, the election tables sat empty all day. High wind may have caused ASCSU, along with other organizations, to leave their tables. The first day of this session's campaign period did not start off with a bang. If voters aren't aware that elections are happening, it is unlikely they will participate. While it may only be the start, it's a bit disconcerting after several reforms to the student body government towards better transparency. Stay tuned. After the break, I'm discussing some of the recent changes to the election process and some recent personnel decisions. Welcome back. Before the break, we discussed what ASCSU is and what they do with elections. With elections around the corner, the Associated Students of Colorado State University's officers are busy with preparations. Working towards your education is difficult enough. Adding to it the time commitment and responsibilities of holding a position in government could lead to significant stress. Since the start of the semester, several members of the Associated Students have resigned or shifted positions for a variety of reasons. Joining me in the studio tonight is Piper Russell, a reporter for the Collegian who has attended several Senate meetings where seceding was on the agenda. Now, Piper, my first question for you is that several members of the ASCSU have stepped down. Why do you think that might be?
I definitely think that for some of them, it was just a matter of kind of not being able to balance it with school and stuff. And then they announced that Emory Jenkins, the elections manager, resigned a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So speaking of that, that brings me right into my next question. Did you think that Emory Jenkins resigning was surprising in any way?
Yeah, it definitely did seem like a little bit of a surprise just because it was kind of abrupt. They didn't really talk about it at all before they announced that Emory had resigned.
With elections so near, what impact do you think this could potentially have on ASCSU itself?
I definitely think it could have an impact just because there have been quite a few changes. That can definitely, just have an impact on ASCSU, but they did say that the only thing that would be changing would be who was running the elections. So I believe it is Gemma Boyenko who is now working as the interim elections manager, and she'll be managing everything. And I believe they are able to make it so all of the campaigns and everything will be on the same timeline and run as scheduled.
All right. And my last question, you kind of talked about it a little bit, is do you foresee this impacting the elections themselves in any way?
Yeah, so like I said, I do believe that the only thing that will be changing is who's running the elections. I know they did extend the due date for applications for the president, vice president, and speaker of the Senate.
Yeah, do you think that might be because they only got a smaller number of applicants this year?
Possibly, and I also know that they wanted to make sure that they were able to reach out to the whole student body and just do their best to make sure everyone knew that they could apply to be the work in ASCSU.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, Piper.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I loved having your insight tonight.
Thank you.
While some at ASCSU are stepping down, others are stepping up to the plate of the election. The current president, Christian Dixon, and Vice President Mary released a promotional video encouraging Rams to run for student leadership.
Hello, my fellow Rams. My name is Christian Dixon, and I'm honored to serve as your student body president.
And my name is Mary Geber-Sadek, and I'm super grateful to serve as your student body vice president. It's been an absolute pleasure serving you this year, and unfortunately, our term is almost up.
But we know that the next generation of leaders will rise up and represent your voice, and I want to personally invite you to consider running for president of the student body, vice president, speaker of the Senate, or senator within ASCSU.
Members of ASCSU are elected officials who make major decisions with a percentage of tuition is spent every year. It's imperative that students continue to participate in elections so that the student government at CSU can continue to function as a democratic representation of all who attend CSU. Elections this year plan to follow the past itinerary with the exception of the short-lived introduction of ranked choice voting. This electoral procedure allows voters to rank their candidates in order of preference as opposed to just voting for one. This method has slowly made its way around Colorado. Starting in Carbondale and Basalt, it has grown into communities such as Telluride, Aspen, and Boulder. Colorado is not the only place that has taken a liking to this voting system. Currently, over 90 colleges in the U.S. employ ranked choice voting in student government. However, CSU is no longer on that list. Although they advertised that this method would carry over into the 2020, the final decision was made in their 19th Senate session. Now, students will only vote for their preferred candidate for all the positions. We reached out to the current elections manager but did not receive a response in time for tonight's broadcast. It's unclear why ranked choice voting was promoted at the beginning of this semester, only to be abandoned right before the race. But as organizations across Colorado continue to push for this form of democratic participation, it begs the question, why does it no longer have a place at CSU? This year's candidates have been announced, with 3 potential speakers of the Senate competing for the spot. However, in an unprecedented turn this year, there's not 4, not 3, and not even 2 options for president and vice president this season. Instead, Robert Long and Elijah Sandoval will run unopposed. ASCSU candidates will be campaigning until April 1st. Debates for the president and vice president will be hosted and streamed here on CTV till Monday evening at 7. Tune in at the same time the following day as I moderate the Speaker of the Senate debate. Voting can be accessed electronically via RamWeb the first week of April, with results announced on the 6th. And with that, we've come to the end of the first installment of Right Now with Ren. But stick around. Emily Kozel will bring you the latest in CSU tennis up next on CTV.